This is the Benefits Buzz Podcast, your weekly pulse on what's happening in the world of employee benefits. Brought to you by your friends at WEX, who believe in simplifying benefits for everyone. Now listen up and let's get buzzed! Hey everyone, it's another episode of Benefits Buzz. I'm your host, Eric Pila. I am joined today by my co-host, Hayden Goethe. Hayden, you're back, man.
Yeah, what's up, Eric? I mean, what are you doing to our co-host, man? It seems like it's like a revolving door.
I know. Let's go to Kelsey. She's not feeling good today, but you're an old pro at this, so we're happy to have you as a co-host today.
Yeah.
Well,
you're our rock, Eric. You're the only one who ever just stays here every single episode. You're here, man.
Sheesh, I know. No kidding, right? No pressure here. So, well, I'm excited about today's episode, Hayden. This is something that we've talked about, you know what I mean? And we did an episode on this topic. It was over a year ago, but I feel like so much has changed with this topic that I think, and when we're talking about the topic, I keep using this, secretive term. What's the topic? We're talking about hiring in today's environment. And we did an episode last year on Great Resignation. We talked about retaining employees and what is this like with talent acquisition. And I think every time there's just little nuances and things continually change. And I can't wait to dive into what does the world look like in 2022 and how things have moved and pivoted. And we have a fantastic guest. She's brand new to the Benefits Buzz podcast. I want to introduce Amy Boucher. Amy is our global head of talent acquisition here at WEX. Amy, welcome to Benefits Buzz.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Hayden. Excited to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, well, we've got lots to dive into with this topic, and we know you've got tons of expertise. I think you sit in such an interesting position. You're thinking about global, and I said the word global head of talent acquisition. So we're going to pull on you from how are things happening in the U.S. and what are things looking like globally, and because we've got listeners all over the world, and so we want to make sure we get some of those idiosyncrasies. And so we're going to dive into this because, right, we think about all the things that are happening right now. Great resignation or great revaluation, whatever you want to talk about it. You've got tons of employee wellness stress, right? Like mentally and physically and emotionally and financially, even people are looking to HR and considerations on keeping jobs and leaving jobs. And now we've got inflation. Like there's just so many things that are coming at I think HR pros when it comes to talent acquisition and retention that I think that it warranted another episode. And so before we dive into that, we know you've got tons of expertise there. So let's just start by, Amy, you talking about a bit of your background with talent acquisition and why this means so much to you.
Yeah, sure. Again, thank you for the opportunity. I've been in HR for 20 plus years, let's say, in a variety of HR roles. So I've been a partner to the business. I've worked in our centers of expertise. I've done program and project management, but the last 10 plus years, I've led recruiting organizations or talent acquisition organizations on a national and or global scale. And so I've had this opportunity to partner, again, with leaders and hiring managers to work on their talent strategies and really dig into the talent market and understand really what it requires to attract the best talent. I've also had a chance to work on significant transformations and building organizations. And so I think, we certainly at WEX are finding ourselves in a transformative state, and talent acquisition is as well. So that's, part of my background and why I'm super excited to be part of the team.
Yeah, you sound like the perfect guest. I knew there was a reason we asked you. lots of years of experience, and I know all the things that you're experiencing from your past jobs and here at WEX, I know will translate to a lot of what other HR pros are dealing with when it comes to employee recruitment. So this is fantastic.
Yeah, Amy, I think we have a tendency to kind of look back at 2020 as being, the start of this huge shift, right, with COVID and some of the different things that, affected really the workplace and how we work and what we expect from work. When you think about 2020 and going back to that point and, the influx of like flexible work arrangements, for example, and really the economy today being where it is, yet unemployment is incredibly low. can you kind of set the stage for us? I mean, what are one or two things regarding talent acquisition that you've seen change a lot just in the last 2 years?
Sure. And I think my HR colleagues will identify with a couple of these areas. And all of us are experiencing similar challenges and similar market dynamics. I would say the most prevalent change for companies in the recruiting space has been the shift to the remote and hybrid hiring. So pre-pandemic, only really the most sort of progressive companies were offering true remote or hybrid work arrangements. So I think as we entered the pandemic, and actually as we progressed to the current state, companies have really adapted that, not only to just attract the workers, but to ensure that we have really creative offerings. So it's here to stay. It's something that's super important to those who are looking for new roles, and I think companies are really starting to understand that. The other piece, and we started to talk about this a little bit, is the beginning is this shift to more employee-centered benefit offerings. The 401ks, health benefits are more considered now traditional, and there is this shift to really, again, employee-centric health offerings, wellness, a better balance between not just work-life balance, but integrating work and life in a way that is just more seamless and fulfilling. And I do want to hit on something, and Gartner, one of the top research companies that I think we all tap into as HR professionals, has talked about what they call the human deal. And there are 5 areas to it. And we talk about it a lot on our team as well, that people are now looking for things like deeper connections, radical flexibility, that gets to the hybrid and the remote, shared purpose, that tends to be the mission and contributing to an organization, personal growth, being able to feel that you're giving your best and you have an opportunity to contribute, and then this sense of well-being. So it really has changed and evolved, and I think it's a very, very exciting time to be in human resources in any aspect as we're going through this next iteration, really, of what the candidates and what the talent market is looking for.
Yeah, I love that you quoted the Gartner stuff. I totally identify with those things, right? Just as an employee working for WEX, I'm looking for those things. And I think it's pretty indicative that that's what the research is saying. And so understanding those things, right, you have to adjust your approach. I know we pulled some information here, right? So, and I think maybe you mentioned this, Hayden, but employment is under 3% right now. Yet there are twice as many jobs open as there are available workers, right? So, whether you want to say this is an employees market or not, I hate to use that terminology, but I have to imagine, given the dynamic, right, it may shift the way in which we're recruiting, right, or our approach to talent acquisition. And maybe it's by the things that they're looking for. Maybe it's because, we're not in, knowing that there's so many opportunities. I'd love to hear, given that environment, has there been any immediate shifts or rethinking about the way in which we present our opportunities at WEX?
Yeah. It's a great question. And what I would say first is that it is truly the essence of a dynamic environment. Because what I said yesterday could even change today, because things are just changing so rapidly. What I would also say is that it still remains a job seekers market. So it's not unusual for recruiters to be working with candidates who have multiple offers, and they're all coming in at the same time. At times, it does definitely pose a significant issue in terms of some of the salaries that are being offered, 20, 30, I've heard people say 40% and above, can be extremely difficult for, let's say, a great candidate to turn down, because it would be life-changing for them. And we do understand that. I know we talk about the Great Resignation. I like to talk about it as the Great Reshuffle. I feel like that resonates more with me, because there are people who are, leaving the workforce, but there are people who are going to new roles. And what I talk to our team about, and I think it's really important, is all things cycle, and everything comes around. And what we want to do is think about, when the musical chairs stop, who is it that we have tapped to join WEX? Who is, with us in our company? Because pay is attractive, and that's great, and it's very important to everyone. But we really want to have those talent seekers who want to join WEX because of our growth, because of the type of culture we have, So that's really what we're focused on, is finding those people who, yep, they want the pay, and that's important, but really, really, really want to be at WEX.
That's awesome. And I love what you touched on right at the start too, just about how rapidly the change is coming at you. You know, when I think about that, it's like, even what I think employees really are expecting from work, you know, is changing a lot, you know, has changed very rapidly. You know, is there anything that you're doing differently today just to like better survey employees or prospects and to better understand like what employees' wants and needs are?
Absolutely. So some of the areas that we're focusing on, as we already mentioned, are creative benefits. I think about the wellness aspect, and we have an app to help people, you know, de-stress at different points during the day. We have a very creative sabbatical program, which not all companies offer. So we're definitely looking at additional creative benefits. At the same time, we're also working on our branding and employee value proposition. So that's more about, why would you come to WEX and why would you stay? So we've had this, again, refreshed brand experience recently, and we're really trying to take that to the next level and tell our story, essentially. And one of the things that we talked about again with our team is that once we tell the WEX story, and once people understand what an incredible culture we have, again, this, you know, stable company and high growth company mixed with this entrepreneurship and creativity, people really are interested. And so we're really trying again to talk more about, again, our brand, our culture, and the value proposition. From a technical perspective, we're also trying to leverage creative technology. We are a technology company, so there are a lot of ways that we can reach the talent audience today that we couldn't in the past. So we're doing things differently in terms of sourcing diverse talent from, I would say, untapped populations. And that's an exciting feature for us as well as we build, you know, again, as I mentioned, our transformation in talent acquisition. And I can talk a little bit about what that looks like if you'd like me to do that as well.
Yeah, I actually love that, because I think that this is all part of our conversation, is how are you transforming as an HR department to adjust to this environment that's so quickly, rapidly changing. If you wouldn't mind expounding more and more about what we're doing here, I think that would be great learning for the rest of our listeners.
Sure. So when we look at talent acquisition, we're looking to modernize, and that covers 4 key areas. One is to create a more consumer-oriented experience. So if we think about the way that we live our lives, whether it's ordering, you know, food on our app or whether we're ordering something online, it should be easy and a great experience. So that is at the forefront of how we want to design talent acquisition going forward: easy, friendly to use, simple processes. And that needs to feel engaging to someone who wants to come work with us. The second area is really, again, our processes and making sure that we are simple. We are not different from WEX overall. Simplifying the business of running a business, we're doing the same thing in recruiting. We need to simplify it for our hiring managers and those candidates who are coming in, whether you're an internal candidate or external candidate. The fourth is, as I mentioned, our branding and our employee value proposition. And it really is inclusive of having, again, tools and information that we can proliferate out into the market. It's also attracting diverse candidate pools, and that means having an inclusive hiring process that when you engage with us, you feel like it's fair, you feel like you're a part of it, that it's a good experience, and that you could see yourself at the company. And then the fourth area that we're really focusing on, and I get really excited about this, very specifically, that we are savvy global recruiters. And I don't just mean my recruiting team and our recruiting team. How do we engage all WEXers to be recruiters, to be ambassadors? And that is, I think, a really exciting opportunity, because we know our team, our small team, is not going to be able to do it all. And we need, all WEXers to really join with us. And so those are some of the areas that we're working on transforming. We have a roadmap. We're launching off with this transformation. It's going to take time, but we're already starting to move the needle. And again, it's really an exciting time for us.
Yeah, I appreciate you kind of removing the curtain and let us kind of hear some of the things that you're doing to adjust. And they all sound like really smart strategic moves. And I think it's good fodder for those listeners to be thinking about those 4 key things for their organizations as well. So thanks for sharing. As I think about, just colleagues and friends and those that may have left and taken new jobs, one of the things that I continue to hear that's come up, and I would love to get your vibe on this, is like this, and Hayden mentioned it, like this whole move to flexible working arrangements. And I think radical flexible, I think was maybe the word that was even thrown out there, right?
Yeah.
And here I am working from home this week. So far, I've gone into the office one day, I'm working from home one day. I kind of feel like I've got the freedom to work where I want to work. And gosh dang it, I love it, Amy, right? And so now, is this flexible working, is this just table stakes for anyone in the business? Like, is this just a new dynamic? Are you hearing that from candidates? Like, you have to come into the office? Is that just like, okay, peace out, no thanks? Like, I'd love to get your vibe there on that. And then maybe just two, once you comment on that, what else, what are some other things that you're hearing from candidates when they're asking for or expecting now from employers through the interview process? Would love to get your thoughts there. Maybe something we're missing or not talking about, right?
Sure. So the flexible work arrangement is huge, and it's here to stay. And at the same time, we are still seeing a desire for collaboration and interaction at some level amongst employees and teams. And so it is a blend. But the trend, it's here. And I don't think that it will be going away, because people have found a new way to balance their personal and work life, and many times still, again, be able to go into an office. One of the things we are doing as an organization is trying to explore this concept of hubs or drop-in centers where employees in certain geographic locations or areas or regions may be able to work from home or work part-time in the office, but be able to get together to collaborate. So that is something we are actively evaluating as part of a more global workforce strategy. And it's going to be, I think, as important as we move forward as continuing to offer those remote and hybrid arrangements. The second part of your question is, I think about a lot, and when you opened this discussion, really started to talk about some of the things. I've never quite heard candidates talk about some of the macroeconomic and environmental factors that we're hearing about now, but the things that are on people's minds are things that are hitting real life. So gas prices, inflation, supply chain issues. These are things that maybe we would not have heard about in the past, but because it is affecting people on a day-to-day level, they're interested, and they want to know, what will that mean for their role? So there's still a lot of discussion, I think, around, we're still dealing with some pandemic issues and concerns around that. There's a lot going on the global stage. So candidates are really thinking through these really tough issues and wondering how, WEX, for example, can help them. And I think that goes directly back to the heart of what we can offer and how we can support candidates and employees in the whole wellness space. And that would be the biggest call out at this point. We can't necessarily change inflation. We can't change the gas prices,
right?
But we can do things to help make an environment and create a work situation where people feel supported.
Yeah. Speaking of that, you ended that just perfectly, feeling supported. I keep an eye, and I follow Sherm quite a bit, and I always keep an eye on their social channels. And there was a post. I'm always curious about which ones get the most interaction, and the one that got the most interaction, I think it was about a month ago, was around, right? So HR pros with talent acquisition, they're responsible, a lot of it, for keeping and caring for their employees. But something that was addressed in this post was about, like, who's keeping and caring for HR professionals. And HR professionals are experiencing a huge amount of burnout, right? Because not only are you thinking, you're so much of your job is making sure you're taking care of others, And I know this is a bit off topic, but like, I think it's super tangible and real. I'd love to hear, what are you doing? Or how are you taking care of yourself, and how has it been a priority at WEX to take care of your HR professionals so that they're in a good place, employee wellness wise, to make sure that they're thinking about and taking care of their employees?
It's, again, another great question. The most important aspect of my job is ensuring that my team, the people that I work with, who work for me, feel that they have a supportive work environment and that they have options and flexibility, not just flexibility about working from home, but sometimes it's being able to go to your doctor's appointment, or maybe you're going to take a spontaneous half day off, or maybe you're going to go away for the weekend and you have to leave early because you're going to do something that you're going to focus on yourself. So the number one priority is focusing on our people, making sure that they feel supported. And we really in HR need to treat ourselves the way that we are treating our clients and the rest of the organization. And so I know for sure Melanie Pinto, our CHRO, has really focused on that even with us as a team. And she said, hey, take a few hours to focus on your wellness during, the week or the month. And so we just have to keep it at the forefront and checking in with your employees, being accessible, talking to them, and also just being real with people. And we are still largely virtual. We interact a lot on our internal social media, platforms, but we're not always really serious. Sometimes we get good laughs, and just creating that environment and constantly being in touch with people, that would be the number one piece, as well as leveraging our formal programs, all of the formal benefits that we have.
Right.
Perfect. Amy, you've given us a ton of really great information in this podcast. Just wrapping up here, are there any final tips or suggestions you'd have for audience, just in terms of the world of talent acquisition, things we maybe didn't cover in this episode, or just things that you think right away might be easily overlooked?
Well, what I always say is always be in recruiting mode, whatever role that you have in HR, because you never know when you may meet a prospective employee, or you may even meet a prospective customer. And I have personally had this experience where I can't tell you how many times I've been in a social situation and someone pulls out a WEX HSA card or a fleet card, or they start talking about their travel plans, and all of a sudden we have this connection and we have something in common. So I think for HR professionals, and particularly recruiting professionals, just always make sure you know your company, you know your business, and you're ready to represent and engage. And you may find some great talent in the times that you maybe least expect it. So I think that's a tip. And keep focusing on, again, as yours also mentioned, our own wellness and keeping ourselves healthy so we can help others in our roles.
Yeah, great advice to wrap the show, Amy. I appreciate that, and lots of good insights I know our listeners will appreciate. We appreciate you coming on the podcast. We know you're super busy, and we appreciate all the things that you do for WEX. And we just want to say thank you. And again, we hope that you continue to bring good talent to WEX, because we love working with wicked smart people. So keep up the good work here, Amy.
Well, thank you both. This has been a great experience, and just really appreciate the opportunity.
We love it. Thanks so much, Amy. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
WEX is in the business of simplifying benefits for everyone. Now, although we certainly hope our podcast sparks some aha moments, like that was pretty cool, but of course we cannot provide legal, investment, or financial advice. And, well, therefore, nothing shared in this podcast should be interpreted as such. We encourage you to seek out appropriate professional advice regarding your plans. Hey, congratulations! You made it through our disclaimer. Thanks for listening.